Hello, Maverick fans. Welcome to another edition of the Mavpuckcast. Thank you for joining in because, John, we barely made it home.
You know, we went out for a Friday-Saturday series that ended up lasting 3 days. We had to drive home through the fog, through the rain. Bridget got pulled over by the state patrol, not because she was speeding, although we were worried about that. Our front headlights on the driver's side had burned out. So that was kind of a harrowing trip back, Jason. And we were worried that we might not make it back in time for Jason, who had to work today because he's not self-employed like we are. We were worried we were going to have to kidnap him and call his boss and ask for permission. But thankfully we didn't. We made it back. Jason, are you rested up after the trip?
We'll say no, and I'm just going to plow through because it was a late night and it has been a crazy Monday. So it'll be good to get this recording, and I'm excited to kind of relive the weekend that was in Denver.
It was so much fun. I'm glad you came out with Bridget and I. But before we move any further in the podcast, we've got to give a shout out to our official merchandise sponsor on the Mavpuckcast this year, Lawler's Custom Sportswear. Jason, Christmas is coming. Since Mav fans listen to this podcast, you might consider getting some new merchandise for that Mav fan on your Christmas list this season. So head on down to Lawler's brick and mortar store on 84th Street. They've got a lot of great merchandise and apparel. There's going to be a game at Baxter Arena this Friday, so you can also check out the merchandise area that Lawler's Custom has at Baxter Arena during that game. Or you can check out lawlerscustom.com online and order merchandise from there. We'll see if you and the family get any new gear. We'll see if I get any new gear this Christmas from Lawler's Custom. So yeah. So you came with Bridget and I. We drove 3 hours to Kearney on Thursday night and spent the night there. We had a lovely dinner at Cunningham's. And then we traveled the rest of the way to Denver on Friday, got in early Friday afternoon. We knew that this DU team was talented, fast, and that they cycled the puck well. And that was certainly on display during that first period as the game got underway Friday night.
It was. We mentioned while we were watching that the speed was just something we hadn't seen. And, a lot of people talk about the quickness of Western Michigan, but I don't know. Denver's on another level. They were moving the puck well. We certainly ran into a buzzsaw on Friday. But first period, we get out and net the first goal. So
yeah, 5:46 into the first, Ray Fuss gets the scoring started. Assist to LeMay and Rollwagon. Good position for UNO to be in. But just a little over a minute later, DU defenseman Sean Behrens ties things up. So it was back and forth there a little while, 10-16 into the first period. Ty Mueller, who's been hot as of late, gets the goal, assist to the Ludke brothers. What did you think of UNO's position going out of that first period, being up 2-1 at Magness Arena, a tough place to play?
It was a tough place to play. It was a good crowd Friday night. When we were tied 1-1 before Mueller's goal, I'd take that into the locker room and say, there's a lot to build on there. We had some opportunities we didn't capitalize on. That was one of the things we talked about last week going into this game. Was going to be a key for UNO is to make sure that when they do get opportunities, they find the back of the net with those. So there was, I think, a lot of good things to say in the locker room in that intermission. And you and I said it the same thing. The big thing was, key last week, still the key after the first period, stay out of the box.
Absolutely right. All hell broke loose in that regard during the second period. 22 seconds in, Omaha's Matt Miller is sent to the box for 5 minutes for a contact to the head penalty. Jason, I know you had some thoughts about that 5-minute major.
I understand the reason why we're the whole player safety, why we're doing this. I don't want to see anyone out with a concussion. We don't want to see guys on any team miss long periods of time. So I get that part of it, but at some point there's got to be a line drawn, and like what is hockey and what is not hockey. And I went back and watched, we watched it live. I didn't see anything live, but obviously we're, ways away. And so I went back and watched it multiple times on the NCHC feed. And I don't see, like, I'm sure that contact's made, but like it's as much of an onus on the Denver player coming into a check as it is on Omaha's player who's fighting for the same ice. He has every right to be in that position as anyone else. And I've said it before, like, what you decide to call as a referee and what you don't decide to call is your deal. That's your thing. I get it. But if it's a penalty one way in the first period, or in this case at the start of the second period, it has to also be a penalty the other way at the end of the third period or at the beginning of the first. And there's so many opportunities that I could go through the game and say, that's basically the same play. No call. That's basically the same play. No call. So I have a problem with the fact that it seems like particularly NCHC refs have decided that they're going to pick and choose when teams get power plays, and particularly long power plays. And it hurt us. Like, this is a good team. You don't need to give them opportunities. And Denver nets 2 on that 5 minute.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't give Denver the all-you-can-eat power play. And the Bouillon brothers, Zeev and Shai, both get the goals. Both very talented players for DU, by the way. They had a number of great opportunities. It definitely was a momentum shift in the game. DU scored 5 goals in a row in that second period, spurred by that 5-minute power play. UNO was down 6-2 late in the second period. Omaha senior Brock Bremer, the Brockskeeto, as we like to call him here on the Mavpuckcast, Jason compared him to a mosquito, and I think that that's absolutely right, because he thrives on irritating our opponents. He scored late in the second. The Mavs were down 6-3 going into that second intermission. What were your thoughts going into the third period, Jason? What would you have said to the players to try to keep them going, being down in a tough environment to a very good DU team?
I don't know what to tell them. Like, at that point in time, what's in the room, which is like, you've got a really big hill to climb here. I think the positives, you come out of there, you say, like, look, we've had some opportunities. Even after that, like, the only reason why Denver's where they are is because the refs decided to get involved. So expect that you're going to get some calls. Be prepared on the power play. Try to inch this back. Like, 3 goals, you're looking at 5-minute blocks. You want to score a goal in the first 5 minutes, in the next 5 minutes, and the 5 minutes after that, and that gets you level, right? Scoring 3, like that. Denver is a puck possession team. You don't get a lot of opportunities. So the fact that we were able to get 3, I think, was a positive going into the third, and something that they could kind of hang their hat on and take away and say, like, okay, we're getting some offense. Let's just keep it going. Stick to the process, as coach says, kind of thing. And hopefully things will go well. But I think a lot of the guys kind of knew that at that point in time, you're playing for tomorrow night. You're really just trying to set yourself up for what's to come, and not so much worried about what's happening in game at that point.
DU goes on to win 8-4. It should be noted that Matt Miller did score 9-10 into the third period. So, like you said, it was all about having some positive juju, or whatever we want to call it, going into the Saturday night game. And certainly we were hopeful going into Saturday. I was also a little bit wary going into Saturday after that second period performance on Friday by DU, because we got to see up close and personal what a good team they are on Friday nights. I thought UNO looked better in that first period on Friday night, Jason.
They tightened up defensively. That was definitely a good thing to see. Offensively, I thought that's kind of where we were lacking a little bit. We were still playing that kind of like in and on game where they weren't getting a lot of sustained pressure. And that was something that, like, my concern there is, like, how long can that last? Before Denver gets a goal or something, and now you're behind. So The real concern there was like, what can we do? What adjustments can be made so that we can start generating some possession time, some offensive zone time, and hopefully get some nice opportunities out of that ozone time.
Yeah, absolutely right. The game was tied 0-0 after the first period. Intermission came and went, and then the weirdness ensued. Jason, I don't know what we're calling this. I don't think anybody's coined a term. I don't know if we're calling it ice gate, which sounds like ice skate. So maybe not. That might not be the best. But prior to the start of the second period, the officials were looking at the ice behind the south net, the net that's right in front of the DU student section, where the NCHC logo is behind the nets. We found out as the next 40 minutes progressed that there was a gouge in the ice on the edge of the logo. The logo is a vinyl decal, and it appears that the thin ice caused the blade of the Zamboni to catch that vinyl logo. The mixture of the blade and the water from the Zamboni caused the ice to melt down to the concrete below. There were maintenance workers out there, Jason,
Coach
looking
Kemp
at.
came out there.
Yes, Coach Kemp came out there. They worked on. I mean, I will tell you, we were very surprised when Executive Associate Athletic Director Mike Kemp was walking around the ice to come inspect it. We knew that the situation was serious when athletic directors from UNO were going out there on the ice to inspect it. It was hard for us to see what was going on because we, on Saturday night, we had gone to the alumni event that UNO held before the game, and we were sitting up behind that goal. So it was hard for us to see what was going on. You had the students standing up. It was nuts. The NCHC commissioner, Heather Weems, was in attendance. There was a whole confab with Coach Kemp, UNO AD, Adrian Dowell, Mike Gabinet was there. The officials were there. It was nuts. I mean, what were your impressions of the event as things unfolded?
Yeah, I mean, we really didn't know what was going. Like, you kind of knew that there was a problem, but they weren't the usual stuff that you would normally do to fix ice. They weren't doing. Normally they just bring out some snow, pack it in, put a little cold water on it, rub the puck on it, try to smooth it out, let it, wait a little bit, let it freeze, and you're done and good. Like, that's how you fill most gouges and holes and stuff in the ice. And so there was a lot of speculation about what might have happened that would warrant like this long of a delay. Um, and like, it's just weird. The players were coming out. We talked to Simon afterwards. He had come out to inspect it when everyone was told to kind of leave, and so we were talking to him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, they came and told us like 5 more minutes, and then like 5 times or something, 3 or 5 times." And I'm like, they're just like, they've got no idea what's going on, and they think that they're done, and we're seeing refs give thumbs up to people, and I'm like, whoa, no, we're clearly not thumbs up territory yet. It was strange. I've seen a lot of hockey games at a lot of different levels, and I've never seen a game postponed for an ice related issue. Um, but they fixed it overnight, and the team rearranged their travel schedules, and we came back on Sunday afternoon to pick up in the second period and finish this thing off.
Yeah, like you said, this was not something that Bridget and I have seen in our 26 years following UNO hockey, and we've seen a number of instances where there'll be like a little spot on the ice that they don't like. So, like you said, they'll generally pack snow in, take a puck, try to smooth it out. They're generally good. So, normally when you think of like on ice delays, it's like when one of the glass pieces of glass around the dasher board breaks or something of that nature. So, very, very unusual. I was thrilled to be a part of it. As you're well aware, I said this is great. We actually have some interesting content to talk about on the podcast. That was also nice for us because we were able to because the game ended earlier than any of us thought it would. We were able to go eat after the game. That was very nice. But like you said, the game resumed Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. We had to wait quite a while to find out when the game was going to resume. I'm sure that UNO's travel arrangements affected that. In fact, we know it did because we talked to Adrian Dowell before the Saturday game. It was just weird going to a hockey game and having it start in that second period. But I thought UNO looked good in that second period as things resumed on Sunday afternoon. Jason, you're going to have to catch me here because I'm going to want to say Saturday. I'm going to want to say Sunday. I'm going to want to say first period. I'm completely thrown off, but 118 into that second period on Sunday afternoon. UNO's Matt Miller gets the scoring started. Assists to Fust and Glenn. Again, it's throwing me off because I'm like, I want to say first period, and it was the second period on Saturday night that he scored. So Jason, just feel free to correct me at any time. The Mavs were up 1-0 early. What did you think about how UNO looked and how DU looked in that Sunday afternoon game? Certainly the crowd was not what it was for a normal game, very sparsely attended, quiet crowd. I think that might have benefited UNO.
I agree when you made that analysis that it's different when you don't have the crowd involved in kind of those swings and stuff. And that's why everyone tries so hard on Friday, Saturday night games to get fans in attendance, is because it does motivate the players. It is a different feel. And so yeah, they came out, and I'm sure that was probably their game plan, right? Like, we're coming into this, everyone's a little bit weirded out about like how this goes. None of us have been through this before. The mental gymnastics that you have to go through to prepare for a game on this. Like, they just wanted to come out and put the pedal to the metal and go really fast and try to get something early. And they get two within the first 5 minutes of the second period of Sunday afternoon. This shouldn't say Sunday night either, should we?
No, this is completely
because every games happen at night. They don't happen at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
I know, unusual circumstances. It definitely, I'm sure, threw off the team's flow. It throws off our flow. But like you mentioned, Ty Mueller gets the second goal for UNO. UNO scores 4 goals in that second period. In addition to Miller and Mueller, Tanner Ludke and LeMay both got on the board. Despite the fact that UNO scored 4, it felt back and forth during that period. DU netted a couple goals during the period, including a shorthanded goal that was just set up by an unfortunate turnover by Joe LeMay.
Yeah, I was really glad that he got a goal to kind of redeem himself on that. But I think that's the big takeaway from the weekend as a whole for UNO, for me, is your power play has got to get this figured out. When you're trying to fight back and you're playing a team like this, you've got to take advantage of those opportunities. And then Saturday, Sunday game, the split game, right? Like, you get out of there with no power play goals. I think they generated some more opportunities and stuff. It looked better in the afternoon game, but you come away with no goals and you gave up one shorthanded. Like, that just can't happen on a weekend where you're -1 on special teams. So that needs to be an emphasis. You've got Augustana coming in. We're going to be able to kind of work on some things, change things up, have a focus or something, because it just seems like a lot of guys pulling in different directions and not working as a 5-man unit right now on the power play.
The power play unit is definitely a work in progress. So we'll see what kind of adjustments they make for the upcoming series against Augustana. The game was 4-2, UNO leading after the second period. I kept wondering when DU was going to finally break things open again. As you mentioned during that second intermission, Jason, we were just kind of holding our collective breath, hoping UNO could hold on to that 4-2 lead. DU narrowed the Omaha lead early in the third. And I think at that point, I was like, oh man, they're going to tie it up imminently here. We spent a large chunk of the third period on Sunday afternoon in our defensive zone, warding off shots from DU. One player I want to note in particular, defenseman Nolan Krenzen really sacrificed his body during one of those long stretches. So the players were definitely committed to helping out Simon and keeping the puck out of the nets. Credit where credit is due. The Mavs were able to get it done in the end. Great saves by Lacozi, and again, a number of players like Krenzen sacrificing their bodies to block shots. The Mavs held on. They won 4-3, despite some great opportunities for DU there in the latter half of the third period. This was an important 3 points for UNO to get in the conference race here early on. Uh, I'll also note that head coach Mike Gabinetz got his 100th win as the head coach at UNO. So, congratulations to Coach Gabinetz. And the Mavs have managed splits at DU the past 2 seasons. So, things are starting to kind of turn in the right direction for UNO after struggling with DU for so many years. Jason, what are your final thoughts on the game Saturday nights and Sunday afternoon, the split game? What are your final thoughts on UNO getting what I think was a really impressive win for them out at DU?
It's not just that they got the win, it has a lot to do with kind of how they were able to finish it off. And you talked about holding our breaths, and Denver pushed hard. Like that was not, that was not an easy win to get. They score early in the third. You've got, 15 plus minutes that Denver has, and they controlled, like you said, they controlled a lot of the play. They dictated a lot of the pace. They pulled their goalie with 3-ish minutes left in the period there at the end of the third, and like they had some really good opportunities. It took some good blocks. We made mistakes too. We had a couple clearing opportunities that we weren't able to get out, and those are the types of things that you look at. And I think if you're Omaha, you look at that saying like, we can hang with the Denver's, caliber teams in the NCAA and in the NCHC. We have those opportunities, but you look back to Friday and you've got to have that kind of memory of like, that's how easy it can go sideways for you. So keep working hard, keep moving forward, and really focus on fixing the things that are wrong. Fix the power play. Be more responsible defensively. Don't try fancy stuff. Simple plays make it. Like the shorthanded goal was just not a good play. It was just trying to do more than what you really needed to do, which was just keep the puck in the zone, send it back in, go back to work on the cycle. That's what we should have done. And instead you try to open up some space and try something fancy, and it bit us. And like, I don't want to throw them under the bus for it. Like, it's just, it happens. You make those things, but you look back on this and you say like, all right, we're in a better position if that doesn't happen, right? We're in a better position if we score some power play goals on both Friday and Saturday. You score a power play goal when we got one in the second, and it's not that big of a lead, and we've got a chance at this, and you change the momentum. But when you give them 5 straight, like, you're just uphill slog. So I mean, I think there's good things to take away. There's stuff they need to still work on, and it's not the kind of win where you start thinking like, hey, we can just skate by because we beat Denver or something. Like, that was a hard win. So you still have work to do.
There definitely is work to do, and like you said, keep it simple, as I like to call keeping it simple, meat and potatoes hockey. Don't try to get too fancy. I know that that's tempting to do. It's going to be interesting to see how they evolve the next few weekends, but we have to turn to our players of the week. Jason, who did you like as your player of the week for this interesting series out at Denver?
You talked about him earlier. I've picked him before. I still really like the way Brock Bremer is playing this season. There was a couple times that he got in scraps and scrums in front of the net, and I remember one of them behind the net that he kind of jumped into. he's out there playing that gritty game that just annoys the heck out of teams. And so I want to see that continue. I like to see that, and he's production. Like with 2 assists on the weird game on Saturday, and he had the goal. I think just the goal on Friday. Um, but he's like every shift, always the same thing. He's always out there, creating opportunities, moving his feet, supporting the puck. He likes to skate back to it instead of away from it, and that's the kind of hockey I like to see. I think a lot of the other guys could kind of learn from that of supporting the puck better and helping our exits and our entries in that way. So I liked Bremer. What about you? Who's your call out from this odd weekend in Denver?
Well, I first of all, let me say on Brock Bremer, 2 goals, 4 assists on the season. We have really enjoyed his play this year, and he's going out with a bang as a senior. So it's really, really nice to see him again having success, because you and I have been impressed with him all the way back to the time when he was in juniors playing for the Muskegon Lumberjacks, and we got to see him play at Ralston Arena against the Omaha Lancers. So great pick there. I have to go with junior forward Ty Mueller. He leads UNO with 5 goals and 5 assists this season. He had 2 goals and 1 assist at DU this weekend. It should be noted he is the 6th player in UNO hockey history to net a goal in 5 consecutive games. And he's in really good company with guys like Jeff Hogan, Scott Parse, Ryan Walters, and Josh Archibald. So it's really good to see him heating up the last few weekends. It's good to see him producing on a game by game basis, because that's what we need from the junior. He was one of our favorite forwards last season, Jason.
Yeah, the season preview we did, we talked about some of those big names needed to be big names again. And, we were a little worried he kind of had a slow start there out of the gate, and he's picked it up. And, I like his play. I think a lot of it is jumbling the lines a little bit. The last few games he's played with Tanner Luckey, and, that I think has really kind of changed his play. And so good things to come if he can keep it up.
Absolutely right, Jason. So exciting to see how he evolves and how Brock Bremer does as the next few games progress. But we have to turn to our things you missed in Denver. And in addition to the ice fiasco that's happened during the Saturday night game, there were a lot of interesting things you missed. Certainly, if you didn't come with me, with Bridget, and with Jason to Denver, you missed a lot of exciting things, a lot of really good food, etc. out there. We had a lot of fun. The event that I really wanted to highlight was the Mavs on the Moves pregame party before the Saturday night game at DU. It was held at DU's Burwell Center, which is just south of Magness Arena. They had hors d'oeuvres, drinks, and swag items for attendees. UNO Alumni Association Executive Director Tony Flott spoke to attendees, as did UNO Athletic Director Adrian Dowell. I've heard him speak a number of times. I know you have too. Just a really impressive young athletic director for UNO. Very, very well spoken. Jason, what did you think of the event? This might have been your first Mavs on the Move event, Jason. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I'm certainly it was your mom's first event. She lives in the Denver area, and she came with us to that event and to the Saturday night and Sunday afternoon game.
Yeah.
What did you think of the event, Jason?
It was good, I think it's great what they're doing. They talked about, trying to build these pockets, communities of alumni, and I really love that they're keeping their graduates connected and keeping people involved in that stuff when they don't have the luxury of living down the road from the university that they graduated from. And as someone who doesn't live close to his university, it's nice to be able to kind of share in that, and wish I could do more for mine and be more connected to my university and stuff. And so yeah, it was a good event. We've attended alumni events before. We've actually attended, I think this was our this is my third at Denver. I don't know if they called them Mavs on the move before, but the other two were actually in the arena. And so we had gone to those and were able to kind of meet some alumni and talk to people out there. So yeah, it's really cool. And if you're alumni and you get a chance, or if you're just a fan and you're welcome enough to have friends that are alumni that can get you into those types of things, definitely do it, because it's a lot of really good people, good information, fun just to hang around and talk to people and stuff.
That is awesome. So you are a veteran of the alumni events that have been held in association with games out at DU. So that's very, very cool. Again, I know you went to Colorado State, so you're not an alum, but you've attended a number of UNO alumni events associated with UNO hockey over the years. So that's cool. And you mentioned trying to get people into these events who aren't alumni. We met a couple on Friday night from Kansas City, Isaac and Annie Lindgren. They were a really fun couple, and Bridget asked them if they wanted to attend the events. Bridget is an alumni ambassador this year, so she contacted the folks with the Alumni Association who were organizing it. And it was really nice to have them there. It was nice to meet them. It's always fun to meet some of these new UNO fans from around the country. Isaac and Annie told us that they listened to the Mavpuckcast, and that was really awesome. So yeah, so I love it when
meeting our fans, the ones that listen and watch and stuff, the podcast. So any of you out there, if you do run into, I guess I shouldn't speak for John. If you run into me, probably John too, like, feel free to say hi, because it is pretty cool to run into people that are like, yeah, I listen to you every once in a while. And so I thought that was really cool that they were willing to come up to us and say hi and meet and greet.
And we made some new UNO hockey friends, so that was awesome. So, turning to our next series, we've got Augustana coming into Omaha on Black Friday, and then we are heading up to Augustana to take on Augie at the Denny Sanford Premier Center on Saturday night. So it's a home and home series. Augustana is 4-5-1 on the season. They played a tough schedule for a new program. They tied Denver on the road in overtime earlier this season. They beat Colorado College out in Colorado Springs the next night. Their head coach is Garrett Raboyne. He was an assistant for 4 seasons under Bob Motzko at Minnesota, and an assistant with Motzko for 6 seasons at St. Cloud State. And I know our fans will be familiar with Motzko during his years with St. Cloud. Great coach. Jason, what are your initial thoughts going into this series? This is one of those series, again, kind of like Long Island a couple weeks ago, against an upstart program. What do you think of UNO's chances going into this series, just on cursory glance?
Yeah, the concern is this is a trap series. This is a team that you should beat, but you just went through everything that was with Denver and all the complexities, and you add that to a shortened week with the holiday on Thursday. It's kind of a recipe for disaster more than it is a recipe for success. So the guys need to be focused. They need to be ready to go. Like I said, I think what would serve Omaha well is if they can get a couple early, get a multiple goal lead. And then have a chance to kind of say, like, let's work on some stuff. Let's try some things out when we get power play that we've been working on in practice and things like that. I also like what you pointed out too. Like, I've talked to people about the difference between East Coast hockey and West Coast hockey. Growing with Denver, like every weekend was a sledge. Like everything was travel, right? And UNO's always kind of been that way. Is like there's no short series. The best we had was North Dakota or maybe St. Cloud. Like, it's still a drive, right? But those East Coast schools, I mean, you could play like 5 teams and not, drive more than 2 hours. And so here we get a chance to do something a little different. And so it'll be interesting to see what the guys, how they handle this when they, play a game at home and then get on a bus and go play a game the next day away.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I know I know we are planning to go up to Augustana for that Saturday night game, so that'll be a lot of fun. Players to watch, Jason. Junior forward Luke Mobley leads the team with 4 goals and 4 assists. He is a transfer from Clarkson. In his years playing junior hockey, he played with Muskegon and Omaha in the USHL. So some fans might be familiar with him. Junior defenseman Ulrika, which I had to look up the pronunciation of that because he is from Finland, has 2 goals and 5 assists. He transferred in from Providence. And then if you look at their 2 goaltenders, Zach Rose and Josh Katai, they've split time in net this season, and both goalies are averaging around a 3.4 goals against average. So UNO definitely has some opportunities if they can get the puck on nets in both of these games. Jason, what is your prediction for this series? How do you think UNO is going to do? Are they going to sweep? Are they going to split? Are they going to get swept? How do you think they're going to do against Augustana?
I think they're going to sweep. I think the challenge is going to be Saturday, quite honestly. I'm more worried having played a game, getting on a bus and going up there than I am about like Thanksgiving and short time frames and the turnaround and the day offs and things like that. So I think that's going to be the like, how do you handle that difference? The encouraging thing is what we just went through in Denver. That was something you're not accustomed. That's something no one's ever been through. That was a whole new situation, having to deal with the extra day, all of that stuff that we just went through with that game. And to see them find success in that Saturday, I have hope at least that they're going to be able to do that. And I think the big thing for me is like, hopefully we come out of this weekend better prepared for the rest of the season and then getting into that NCHC part of the schedule. So hopefully, we can kind of come out of this with maybe a better idea of what our power play is, more responsibility, and 2 more wins.
Absolutely right. Hopefully they don't have a turkey coma after the Thanksgiving holiday, and hopefully they're not reveling in that win out at DU for too long because there's work to be done. I'm going to say that, like you, that UNO sweeps this weekend. It'll be a good opportunity, as you alluded to, for them to kind of tune up and work on some things before they start gearing up for that second half NCHC grind. So these last few series before the first of the year, they've got to find a way to fix some things, work on some things, and get things shored up for that second half run that we're looking forward to watching. Friday's game at Baxter Arena is at 7:07 p.m. You can listen to that game on 1290 Coil or watch it on NCHC TV. Saturday's game in Sioux Falls will be at 6:07 p.m. Central Time at the Denny Sanford Premier Center. You can listen to the game here in Omaha on 1290 Coil, and you can watch it on Jason's favorite streaming service, Flow Sports. It's a good thing you're going to the game, Jason, because I know you would not subscribe to Flow Sports, and I'd have to come in with my iPad, log in, and AirPlay it so we could watch it. But yeah, so if you're staying here in Omaha, you'll have to sign up for Flow Sports, which is a pricey prospect for one game. So we encourage you to come up to Sioux Falls for those games. I'm sure that they will have plenty of tickets available because the Sanford Center is a sizable facility, great facility. It should be fun to see a lot of UNO fans in attendance for that. As always, we encourage you to follow us on social media. Bridget does updates on Twitter during the games. You can find links to all of our social media channels at mavpuck.com, as well as back episodes of this podcast, which we encourage you to listen to. But until next time, Jason, go Mavs.
Go Mavs.